You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the December 27th, 2023 special meeting of the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good afternoon. Go ahead and call the Michigan City Redevelopment Commission special meeting to order today. It's Wednesday, December 27th, 2023. We'll go ahead and do the roll call. Ms. Dennis?
Present.
Ms. Nelson Deitch?
Present.
Mr. Barrett?
Here.
Mr. Warner?
Present.
Mr. York?
Present.
Attorney Cernick? And I am here as well. We'll go ahead and get this ball rolling. Next up, we've got the station block update and approvals.
We have two things we want to talk about with respect to that. First, I'd like to pass the blame on this to somebody, but it goes nowhere except for me. We got to the point of where we are in the process now is Flaherty Collins is closing on their loan for the mixed-use portion of the project. Part of that, as you know, requires that the western side of the two parcels, following its, the replanning of the station block, we're conveying to Flaherty Collins for the mixed-use project. They're closing on their loan, and there are literally 50 or more documents that have to be done. One of which was a resolution from the commission conveying the property to Flaherty and Collins for ownership of the property for the mixed use. And I would have sworn I did that back last August and September, and I would have been wrong. So quickly did the resolution yesterday, sent it to you, and it basically, we'll need to get a number, Debbie, on this, but the resolution basically says that the commission, based on approval of the joint development agreement, approval of the addendum to the agreement that we did earlier this year, and the agreement that we entered into with Flaherty Collins is we agreed to give them this property so that they could build a mixed-use project along with everything else that goes along with it. And I had just neglected to do that. So to correct that error, we need to pass that resolution tonight. The resolution is basically entitled "The Resolution of the City of Michigan City Redevelopment Commission regarding the transit project and specifically conveying the property, or the agreement to convey the property to Flaherty Collins, and they need this document so that they can do their closing."
Great, thank you. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve. Second.
Got a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. Ms. Dennis?
Aye.
Ms. Nelson Deitch?
Aye.
Mr. Barrett?
Aye.
Mr. Warner?
Aye.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you for covering up for me on that. The second thing is, this is a second addendum to the project agreement and to basically where we are right now. First of all, got my days mixed up here, but I want to say on December 21st, last Thursday, all procedures and requirements for the closing of our bonds that we've talked about previously was completed. And that $19 million approximately was then deposited with the trustee for subsequent drawdowns. We originally did this as part of the overall 98 or whatever the total project ends up being, but a $98 million project, and that the money would then go to Flaherty Collins to oversee, and they would apply it for wherever they wanted to, applied it. We knew there was going to be a gap in the overall completion of the garage based on what NICD was providing originally, and then subsequent additions to it by Flaherty Collins as it related to the overall development of the mixed-use project. So we're somewhere, roughly $100 million, but we had not identified within the bonds what was to be geared for this or to that, but rather just say the entire station block project. We have encountered, I know the NICD's contract is with us, agreement was with us, our agreement is with Flaherty Collins. We have run into a disagreement as to the definition of a good faith efforts, as well as meeting the overall goal related to the federal requirement of disadvantaged business entities. For this project, the goal was set at 9.78%. And the federal regulation says that you need to meet the goal, or, and that's a big or, you must demonstrate good faith efforts. And we are currently in a position where we knew the 9.78 was never going to be achievable by the very nature of the garage and the very nature of the way the garage is being built. And so then that really leaves us to the fallback of the good faith efforts. And we are in disagreement with NICD at this point as to what it actually means to be good faith efforts. So while we work that out, and because there are claims that are pending from the subcontractors from Flaherty Collins that have been pending since October, and we're getting to the point of where the project could be a standstill and nothing happens while we work on resolving this. The second addendum to the project agreement would allow the commission to front or forward money to Flaherty Collins for the purposes of paying these subcontractors while we continue to resolve the disagreements that we have with NICD. But within the overall bond process, ordinarily, we would not have to do this. We don't get to an approval process. We've already said we've got the $19 million from the bonds. It's going to be spent on the station block project or the transit station project or the misuse project or anything having to do with the station block. They will, the money was going to be applied, and we don't need to come back every time and approve that. The feeling, and particularly of Skylar and myself, but I think we would report to the full board, is that because this is being treated a little bit differently, and because there's a NICD component of $16 million, total commitment of $16 million, we thought it would be best to separate this out from the $16 million part out from the overall bond proceeds being applied to the project. So, so what the second addendum is calling for is that basically saying we will make bond proceeds that were deposited with the trustee last Thursday into to be applied to current claims that have not been paid by NICD, so this project doesn't reach a just come to a complete stop. So that's one part of it. The other part is kind of a fallback, and hopefully we never get to it, but as the project would be that in the event that we never get to that point of well, two things. In the event we never get to the point of reaching an agreement, as we continue to talk with NICD on that, that would ask for the commission to consider approving an indemnification to NICD for any audit that they go through, or criticism or shortfalls or whatever the case may be on any audit that the federal government does on NICD as it relates to the $16 million for this project. That request is being made, I'm making that request of you, not in a complete vacuum. I've already made this request to Flaherty Collins. And I will tell you that, well, I'd like to tell you that I was just so persuasive in a 20 or 25 minute presentation to David Flaherty that he saw the wisdom of it and he did it. The reality is the fact I didn't have to work as hard as I did because Mr. Flaherty was more than willing to give this indemnification and more than willing to continue to partner with us as we go forward with this project. So they have already offered their indemnification, his decision. That indemnification offer continues to be in place. He's not reneged on that based on a meeting that we had last week. So what I'm asking with the commission today, in the event that we need it, that we will also provide a similar indemnification or a joint indemnification with Flaherty and Collins to NICD in the event it's necessary in any kind of audit proceedings that the federal government has and requires NICD to pay all or part of the $16 million back to the federal government, which quite frankly, I don't think will ever happen. But so that's the second component of this. The third component, and why I don't think we will ever get to that point, allows, and this is just a general concept, and again, I hope we never get to this, but would allow the commission to any shortfall from the 9.78% of $16 million, so we're talking about roughly $1.6 million, anything that we don't come through, we would appropriate additional money, and maybe we appropriate additional money in conjunction with Flaherty and Collins. And again, I've not hesitated to ask them for a 50-50 split on that. that would be applied solely 100% to the DBE contractors for other portions of the garage project. We've talked about the rooftop amenities as being an area that's ripe for DBE involvement. So one way or the other, we'll get to that $1.6 million, so that hopefully the indemnification never happens. Hopefully the $1.6 million never becomes an issue because all parties can agree that Flaherty and Collins is making a good faith effort in attempting to meet the DBE requirement. So that's what the Second Amendment to the project agreement calls for. Any questions, let me know.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and consider opportunity for approval.
Can I make a couple of comments?
Absolutely.
So just to be clear, so this addendum is to allow them to use the proceeds to pay, since NICD has cut off funding to the contractor right now. And one of the things, and I've had a conversation with NICD, and I've been a part of some of those conversations, and I want to stress the good faith effort, because I feel like they're making a good faith effort. They've hired someone who's solely responsible for seeking the DBEs. We've asked for lists. We've even had a contractor who, previously bid that has no DBEs. That's a subcontractor. And I think that NICD is overstepping a little bit on our toes, because they're contracted with us. Flaherty and Collins is contracted with us, and they're saying they're not making a good faith effort down to even emails. And it's just it seems like a lot for me. And I'm just hoping that with the indemnification that NICD, acts like a community partner, like we're trying to do with everybody. I mean, I think this is a win-win for everybody, the community, and I just want them to understand that this is big and huge for them, not just for us, but for all of us. And I think they, done a good job. I think Flaherty and Collins has stepped up outside of whatever other projects they've had. They've done everything we've asked them to do. And I think NICD has done the same. And so I just think that I hope we can resolve this within the next week or so, to get this done. Because I feel like they're doing everything, and I don't see anything different, and I'm trying to figure out what's different and what that is. So before I start rambling, as I am, because I'm a little frustrated with this has been going on for a while. So it didn't just happen, but I just hope that we can get this resolved within the next week or two, and move forward with the project and make sure that things are working and that we're still continuing to find DBEs. I think that's the key, is that they're still looking. They're still looking for every nook and cranny, and if they're doing that, I mean, that's good faith effort in my book. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments before I make a motion.
I've got a couple of comments. Go ahead, Skylar, if you'd like to.
I was just going to add, I think you hit the nail on the head at the very end. Angie, we are meeting with NICD and Flaherty and Collins. I've been in those meetings. We're breaking down all the remaining money that we have to be awarded, looking for DBEs, reaching out again, sending emails again, making phone calls. So I want to stress that we haven't stopped looking. We're still in the process of awarding and still looking for those contracts. So just stress that.
Skylar, where are we at right now as far as percentage
We're setting
involvement?
Yes, we're setting at about 3.02%.
Thank you.
Can I add one more thing about the percentage? And I did ask that question in NICD if everybody is making their commitments on DBEs. And it was shared that with me that they are, but they can range anywhere from 0% and up. So I just want, maybe that's something we request, that information from NICD on all the other contracts and, what their percentages are and what the overall percentage is to see, are we making up the majority or what's going on to understand, how, why we're at this place when we know the prefabrication piece of it is hard pressed to get DBEs. So that would be my other question.
I appreciate the comments and would like to make some as well. Definitely a point of frustration for me personally. I'm trying to comprehend through the course of a construction project where all the appropriate parties have approved items going forward. We've got 4 draws that have been processed, and all of a sudden there's an issue. And to have it be an issue for us, that's not an issue anywhere else, is hard for me to swallow as well. With that being said, I do think that the indemnification process, if you will, is a good faith on our behalf. It shows our commitment to the project. The city's all in. If we thought for any which way that everyone was not on the same page, we would not have floated the bond, right? So that's frustrating for me as well, and I'll kind of get off my piece.
Just read.
Ms. Dennis, yes, I'm sorry.
One more thing. In paragraph 10 of the agreement, just to read this out loud so everybody's aware of it. When we talk about DBE requirements, developer affirms its obligation to comply with the terms of federal funding requirements. Developer and commission shall work collaboratively to identify opportunities for additional compliance with the federal funding requirements in connection with the use of disadvantaged business entities. And that's what you're committing to. We're right out there on the public record, right out there saying, no, anything short of good faith effort is not acceptable. But important and implicit within that is Flaherty and Collins is saying the exact same thing. And I think that's very significant.
Do we know how the percentages are set for projects? Is it based on the total overall cost of the project, or is there some sort of formula that they use when setting these percentages? Because they seem to be all over the board.
I have been told, and I don't know this firsthand, but this is with respect to the consultant that Flaherty and Collins has, and we've talked about this. The number of 9.78 or whatever percentage comes from is based on a 3-year aggregate of other projects that the federal government has done within this area and similar like work. Where it comes up 9.78 for Michigan City on one aspect of the project and 0% for somebody else, that I don't know yet. But I think that's where the public records request comes in. Both in terms of what are the other contractors and their expectations are for the other contractors for the DBE requirement, but then also have we reached this formula of 9.78%.
We have some public comment. Please come on down and state your name, address, and look forward to hearing from you.
Not really public comment, but Mark Yagelski, 125 Boyd Circle. I always forget which meeting I'm supposed to go to, but we also been part of this process. Somehow it was picked that they had to have a county councilman on this. So I worked 17 years. I was on the board for 17 years for NICD. Over 70% of our projects never met a DBE, pretty much zero, because we did ballast, railroad type, railroad cars. 70%. But 50% of our money came from federal state dollars. So they always required it. I'm kind of surprised that we became an issue because we fought this battle all the time. So we did a lot of areas, like you said, there could be some improvement around the area where you might do landscaping or somewhere else. We try to find things like that. But I'll tell you, over 70%, we never meet, we were zero. And we tried. I know it was always in the bid process. So again, I'm sorry, I didn't remember which meeting. I thought I was supposed to be at this meeting, but
Glad you're at the right meeting today. Appreciate your comments and, that just goes to show, yeah, we're not so sure we're getting a
Yeah,
fair hand. Yeah.
yeah, you were at the right meeting. Well, with that being said, I move for adoption of the second addendum to the project agreement.
I will second the motion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. Ms. Dennis,
Aye.
Ms. Nelson Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Barrett,
Aye.
Mr. Warner.
Aye.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries. Thank you. Let's see. Up next, public comment.
I apologize. I have an agenda item that is not on the agenda. It came in kind of a short notice, but that's okay because I was expecting it. I will say I'll preface this agenda item with, as of right now, in the last Board of Works meeting, we requested Baker Tilly to do a fee study for us. They're going to look at fees across the board for Michigan City, see if we're competitive. Are we charging fees for certain things or not charging fees? Should we be charging? Just kind of look at like where we're at. And I think that this is a timely because there's a lot of things happening in Michigan City right now. There's a lot of development. There's a lot of development opportunity in Michigan City. We're seeing it. I get calls daily and about development, things that are vacant land or land that's got things on it that are being redeveloped. I would also say, looking at the counties, every year we get a report from the county. We are still leading in sales, property sales, and then the amount of property being sold. And it's they have a heat map where they show us all the different properties selling, and we're seeing a lot of turning over of property right now. With that being said, there are also a lot of things that the Redevelopment Commission is doing. There are things that I'm also doing in the planning department with just day-to-day permits. What this is it's actually consulting. I'm asking for a consulting contract with MS Consultants. I've worked with them on some smaller projects in the past. This is the letter that you have is from a guy named Dax Norton. He works with they have a really interesting niche of where they work. They work with governments that are small and cities that are kind of emerging into more development, that are growing. So it's a very interesting area of planning that they're in. But what we've asked them to do is to come in and look at my department, specifically the planning department, and inspections and permit issuing, things of that nature, and help us try to structure that to become more in line with some of our neighbors who are a little bit more streamlined. I think that I've done a decent job of streamlining us to the point where we can handle a little bit of the development, but we're just seeing so much of it right now. It's becoming a little bit overwhelming, and I don't want to make sure that I do want to make sure that we're able to handle the amount that is going to be asked of us in the future, because I do think we're going to grow as a city, and we need to be prepared for that. And I've had discussions with the water department, sanitary department. I think we're all kind of feeling the pressure of development right now. So we all are going to have to figure out how to streamline our department, or our departments, and then what our goals are and what our focuses are in the future. So this is what I've asked them to do. I've asked them to come in and kind of look at us. I'm asking the Redevelopment Commission to fund this, because I do believe, and the funding that we're asking for is a not to exceed 25 grand, is I do believe this fits right in with without permitting. We don't have improvements in our TIF districts without the people, without having a good department to work with us. It's going to be harder to get these big developments in. So I do think this fits right in with what we're trying to improve our tax base. So I think it fits right in with the Redevelopment Commission, and I don't think it's outlandish to ask for the Redevelopment Commission to fund this ask. I don't know if anyone else has any other comments.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Skylar. Yes, Mr. Warner.
Yeah, I just want to back up what Skylar said about an increase in development here. Working for NDOT and overseeing permits, there's been a lot of more increase in permits coming into NDOT within Michigan City area on US 20 and 12. So we're seeing that just on those two roads. I imagine it's really increasing on other places than just the US highways in town.
Which isn't a bad thing for Michigan City.
No, not at all.
No, nor NDOT.
I move that we approve the agreement with MS Consultants, not to exceed $25,000.
I support it.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, go ahead.
Subject to attorney review.
Subject to attorney review.
Yes.
Thank you for that piece. It's got a first and a second. With that, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. Ms. Dennis,
Aye.
Ms. Nelson Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Barrett,
Aye.
Mr. Warner.
Aye.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Oh, or public comment. I'm
Public
sorry.
comment? Mark, you're up.
Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak or forever hold your peace? Or at least till next meeting. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.